Blessings, beautiful community in YouTube land. It is such a gift to be with you here today for 4D Trinity. We are back. All right, it's 11 a.m. Let's get on to little costume adjustments. Costume. Let's get set up on Instagram. I'm so very grateful, as always, to be with you. Blessings and welcome, dear community. We are back. I am Tuesday May Thomas, and this is my weekly live stream, 4D Trinity. At 4D Trinity, we assume the divine trinity of mind and body with spirit. And through that divine alignment, we gain entryway into the sacred tiny space of the heart, the space of the now moment, the space of synchronicity, the space where all good rooted in love abides. And that's what we're here to do today, dear community. So thank you for joining and being here. Today's topic is the Aquarian Renaissance. Renaissance. Now, I don't know about you, but I did not like school. In fact, I would often cover my ears in class and not even listen at all in school. And especially when it came to history, I was not good at school. I flunked and I failed tremendously, unless it was art. Then I was really good at school. But when it came to all my other studies, I went to school in Ireland, and and it's not because of Ireland. Maybe I was too busy drinking pints and singing in a 10-piece jazz funk band when I should have been in school. But the point is that history, right? History repeats itself, as we know. And that's the premise of today's show, is to bring about this awareness to the ages and to understand the aspects of yourself that are in correlation with this aspect of the Aquarian age and with your own inner Aquarian Renaissance. So yes, in school, we all maybe have some kind of a memory of being in that place, right? And learning these teachings. And perhaps there was a little bit of Renaissance history that was embedded into the teachings that were shared with you. That was the only part I remember being in school in Ireland, and the teacher used to really dislike me for whatever reason. And I used to get sent to the principal's office all the time, especially in my history class there. And she just really didn't like me for whatever reason. And the principal would just be like, I don't get it, and would send me back. But I got to get into the only part of history that resonated, and that was about the Renaissance. This is the time where I was going to say DiCaprio, that's hilarious, Leonardo da Vinci, right? And all of his great gifts were brought into this world. This is when the Mona Lisa happened. This is when sculpturing happened. And we're going to go through some of the aspects. And now I am not a historian, but we are going to go through some of those very precious aspects of the Renaissance. And we're going to see how they fit into the collective consciousness of what we are sharing together as experience in this matrix now, but also how they apply to you. So when we think about, and thank you everyone for being here on Instagram and everyone at YouTube. I'm so very grateful for your support and for hanging out and hopping on. So we think about, right, when you were little, or it's not even when you were little, but this whole world, this third dimension, there is a collective construct that speaks to this aspect of, what do you want to be when you grow up? What do you want to be when you grow up? And that it has to be one thing. A fireman, a nurse, a post person, a doctor, a lawyer, all of these different things. And it's funny because rarely artist makes the cut, which I love being an artist, because it's really an umbrella that you can do and be anything you want and be as crazy as you want. And you can get away with it because you're an artist. And so that's why I choose being an artist. But when we're little, right, we think about, what do you want to be when you grow up? And so we focus all of our lives and our studies, or maybe your college, your pursuits, towards this one goal. And for some of us, perhaps that is indeed the karma, is to just really focus on that one aspect and to highlight it, to amplify it, and to be a master of that. Yet, there's an aspect that I want to speak about with this Aquarian Renaissance that speaks to this universal reincarnation that David Wilcock speaks about a lot and has been speaking about for many years, and that I have a few shows here on 4D Trinity where we've brought it up and we've delved into that realm. And if we consider that we are in a time of universal reincarnation, the idea is that whoever has ever lived here on this planet, in any timeline, as long as time exists, as far as we've been counting, right, and creating timelines and grids, that we have returned now. If you've been here ever before, you are here again. Thank you again for hopping on, everyone. I love this community so much. So all of those lives that you've lived and all of those gifts and talents that you've amassed over all of those lifetimes, what are they? And how are they seeking a voice, a body of work, a matricing of their third dimensional density into this reality to be birthed through you? How are they, how are those parts of you speaking to you? And how are they showing up? And how are you giving them a voice? Now, you can get a paper and pen. You can get, anything you want to do here to, or just sit with this idea, because I'm going to propose to you, there's this aspect about the Renaissance man, or a Renaissance woman, a Renaissance person. And this is a person that is highly skilled, and not just a jack of all trades, but a freaking master of many. And that's what I'm calling out to you. That's what I'm calling out to you and to myself and to all of us on today's show, is if there is some kind of a resonance, and even just for play to imagine, well, shoot, I do feel that I have been here many times before. And perhaps all of those memories, right, are accessible to me in this lifetime now, but also traces of those aspects have followed through with me through my samskaras, through my karmas, and they resonate and they walk with me in the cells and the DNA structuring of what I'm replaying through the grids and pulling from the Akashic. And so creating the remembrance and the resonance. Okay. And I'm going to give you some ideas. So, for fun, right? For fun, but also the reality is, I'm going to give you an idea, and you see, right, imagine just a pie chart, and what are all your gifts, your talents, your hobbies, your abilities. So, and it's coming now because we're in the age of Aquarius. So perhaps these things have been sleeping and they've just been like, under the rug, and now you're feeling juiced up. You're feeling the expression wanting to come forth. And again, we're going to review some of the history stuff about the Renaissance and apply it now to this Aquarian age. But so for instance, I am a Reiki master healer of 20 years. I am an artist. I am a speaker. I am a mystic. I'm a metaphysician, right? I am a student of martial arts. I practice the nunchucks. I'm a knife thrower. I wield the staff. I bodybuild, right? I booty build. I love exercising. I have a whole different page for that, booty sculptress. I have the Grid Mind Science Project, which is the studies of all my metaphysics with the grid that I'm creating this movie and, teachings around. There's all of these different parts. Oh, and what else? I'm a race car driver. Yes, I am. And I am a motocross rider. Yes, I am. Now, do I have my motorcycle license just yet? No, I don't, but I am signing up. Now, have I driven a race car in this lifetime yet? No, I haven't, but I am signed up for that for next month to have my first experience. So this is what I'm saying is like, what are all those parts of you? When you allow yourself to embody and to move forward into giving those parts of you a voice, a body of work, a physical body to say, well, let's give this a go. Let's get those knives, or let's get on that bike, or let's pick up that paintbrush. Let me be that writer I know that I really am, or whatever it is. All of those parts of you become turned on. And what I'm saying is that are those parts of you that are calling out for that voice, or that you're already embodying your Renaissance persona, your Aquarian Renaissance being. How many of those parts are you allowing to shine through at once? And this is the trick, is because it's about letting all of your colors be turned on at the same time. What does that mean? If you follow me on Insta, on my personal page, I'm starting to post a little bit about this because they're giving me these beautiful ideas about this, which speak to all of the chakras, right? As we heal our lives. And really the premise of Grid Mind Science, of those metaphysical teachings I share, is that your healing is your ascension. You can think or you can feel a sense of ascension and evolution and enlightenment. Yet unless those triggers, those wounds, that pain, that grief from the past is healed and brought back to 0 point in the heart space, right? Then we are still just spinning our wheels. We're still learning from those karmas. And so it is. And so it is. Yet as we heal, right, all of those karmas and all of those memories and all of those filters and all of those lenses and eyeballs that are our chakras become clear. And we become attuned and we gain access to our divine feminine and our divine masculine within each chakra center. Like in stories a while ago, I post all sorts of stuff in stories. But recently, back to back, there was a picture of Mother Amanda Moima and Bruce Lee. And that's like my divine feminine and my divine masculine. It's like the ability to be that goddess, to be that still point, to be the meditator, to be that divine, being in Christos with the Christ frequencies, with your heart fully activated, your Taurus fully activated. And at the same time, to take no shit in this third dimension, to be able to Bruce Lee. Boom, so just to give you an idea that all your colors turned on. So there's the dark and the light, but they have been healed, they have been purged, they have been cleared, and you are aware of those variables that operate within you. Now, I'm throwing knives. I can use that in a way to just practice and to have fun and build my little hobby, or I can use it as a form of, to do some harm or to create violence. And this is what I'm saying. The light and the dark become elevated. Like astrology, there's the lower aspects of a lot of signs, and then there's like the higher aspects. And that's all we're doing when we heal our lives, is we're clearing to turn all the colors on, the grievances in those chakras, so that both the highest parts of the light and the dark, we can take the medicine from them and use them appropriately for the highest good as we navigate our way through this third dimensional matrix. Okay, because this is the only place where you really need to use those tools. Well, okay, no, multidimensionally, never mind. And I see there's comments. So what are all your Renaissance parts? Let's see. Oh, blessings. Oh, thank you, everyone. Hey, thank you so much, everyone, for hopping on. Blessings and welcome. Let's see. There's a few comments. Hi. Blessings. Oh, blessings. Royal Corvez. When is the golden age coming when humans will officially be free from all suffering? So the offering here is that, as well as with these ages, so we understand, right, that time is not real. Time is an illusion. Time is a tool. Time is a construct. And what I offer is that, it's now, and we are already free. Yet to really, truly come into that divine alignment with that aspect of self is to heal all those parts, all those memories that keep us thinking or feeling or subconsciously, unconsciously moving in a way that would repeat the old actions that would trigger the matrix to create the same simulation over and over again of hurt, of pain, of thinking that we're not free. We are already free, you see. The illusion is that we are not. The illusion is that we are not. So I offer that to you. And the golden age, and I really don't know. I will say that it is the golden age is always happening. And it's happening in our hearts. It's happening in our hearts, right? Because we get to the point where we realize that the suffering in the world is an illusion. And it's a tool in itself. And it's a means by which we've agreed collectively on this plane to learn love, to learn how to heal, to learn how to overcome, and to go beyond those pains of the third dimension and those memories that would keep us bound here. So that's what I offer to you, dear beauty. Monipa, artworks. I'll cut you, bitch. Yeah, all blessings. V, the passenger. Hello, aloha in Hawaii. Mahalo. I'll cut you, bitch. Yeah. See, I don't want to go into that level with my knives, and I don't want to, yeah. Anyway. Exactly, Gabriel. You get the idea. So let's review here. I want to know as well what your, tell me in the comments, whether you're on YouTube or on Instagram, so that the community can know what are all those variables that you're working with. These are parts of the Rubik's Cube of all of us. These are parts of all of your colors lighting up, all of those creative aspects within us, all of those colors of the chakras, right? Waiting to be aligned and lit And when they become lit, there is a unity that is unfuckable with, that we become to, and we embody. Now, it's not without an initiation. And what is the initiation? It's the fear of the fear in our own minds, and any preset limited notions that we have about being all these things at once. And last week I spoke about it on last week's live stream, which got cut off here on Instagram, which is funny. And I think it was the dress, and that had happened before, even though they were all full of warnings and violations and all that. But when I went in, they had corrected it. And so that's why we're back here live. And I believe it's, if I wear a certain color clothing or dress and it kind of matches in with the couch, they think I'm doing a nude live. Wouldn't that be something, right? No, we would charge for that if that was happening. So they thought anyway, so that's why we got cut off last week. So I'm like wearing red. I'm like, that's what, we're not going to make any mistakes today. We're going to make sure this live goes off. So thank you for coming back in. But what are your Renaissance factors? What are your Renaissance factors? And the biggest factor, which dear, blessed Jean Galliano, a dear mentor of mine, she wrote to me, this is before Christmas. Because what are we really talking about here on 4D Trinity? We're talking about the awakening of the Christ Center that is so deeply powerful, intensely just supernatural and beyond this world. That's what we're coming into. The divine enlightenment, the divine enlivening and activation of that knowing of unity consciousness, where all the separation, all the walls, whether it's race, color, age, sex, trans, whatever, where all that stuff, the divisions just melt, and we are able to see one another, as ourselves. So Jean, I believe you're here with us today. Thank you so much, Mystic Artifacts. I love you, lady. And I can't wait to share with you some new revelations and things that are happening. But she sent me this really beautiful, beautiful piece right before Christmas. The age of Aquarius commences. This is what the Aquarian Gospel says. Jesus refers to the beginning of the Aquarian age in these words. And then the man who bears the pitcher will walk forth across an arc of heaven. The sign and signet of the Son of Man will stand forth in the eastern sky. The wise will then lift up their heads and know that the redemption of the earth is near. Aquarian Gospel 157.2930. The Aquarian age is preeminently a spiritual age, and the spiritual side of the great lessons that Jesus gave to the world may now be comprehended by multitudes of people. The teachings that Christ brought. Yes, I love you. I love you, Jean. Yes. So the teachings that Christ brought, according to this Aquarian Gospel, in this Aquarian age, would be comprehended by multitudes of people. For the many are now coming into an advanced stage of spiritual consciousness. So with much propriety, this book is called the Aquarian Gospel of Jesus the Christ. So thank you for that. And I've known that I was going to be sharing that at some point from the moment that you shared it with me, Jean. So so here, today is the day. So again, so this is it. And I love how this is going to meld into my little bit of research that I did. Because again, I'm not a historian, but of course I did do a little research on this aspect of the Renaissance, and the Renaissance that happened in the 1400s, 13, 14, 1500s, respectively. It was after the Middle Ages, and I do have notes, so I'm going to be reading from my notes. This was the time of great inventions. Now, but let's keep in the back of our mind, and I know Gabriel had written something, so I'm going to come back over here. Oh, and Empro strength. Hey, brother, blessings. Okay, there's a lot of comments. I'll come back to that in just a moment. Okay. So keep in mind, though, that aspect of just being able to comprehend such powerful, in-depth teachings as the Christ would share. Okay. Now, we're going to get to that. Okay. Let me fix this little costume here. Okay. Now, did you know that portable timepieces, watches, were invented in the time of the Renaissance? Okay. From that invention, planetary exploration began to advance. The designation of, again, where borders were, not only on the planet, in the seas and with land, pardon me, itchy nose, but also in the cosmos, in the stars, in the sky, began to expand through this awareness of having a timepiece, through this awareness of time, of time. In this planetary exploration, the sun was placed at the heart of the solar system. And this was the first time that this realization on a larger collective scale had been made. Oh, the God phone, the God phone. Oh, it matches my dress. Oh, I got to work with this. That was not planned. Hey, God. I know, we're back. They have not cut us off. I'm so grateful. How are you? God's like, God is good. God says hi, blessings. Oh, okay, that's different. We're going to read from The Aquarian Conspiracy by Marilyn Ferguson. I love that. Yes. Okay, blessings. Thank you, God. I love you too. Thank you. Okay, so trip out. Okay, we're going to read, where is it? Marilyn Ferguson. Now, this is the, I was into this book in New York. Nose is itchy. In Ireland, we'd say there's someone thinking about you. I hope he's cute. In Ireland, oh no, wait, where am I going? Where am I going? That was the nose. In New York, 1998, this book came to my attention, and Elena, a very dear sister back in the day, bought this for me. And isn't this interesting that it has this symbol here? I think this is very interesting with the work of the Taurus that I'm guided to do as well. Everything that you're guided to, there's always a back path of footprints you've left energetically that when you look back and you put them all together, you're like, oh my gosh, they create this arrow of time, of a timeline that's guiding you into your destiny. Or, well, I don't know, destiny, that's a whole show. Okay, that's guiding you. Let's just reprint that along your path, along your divine path. But anyway, I had read this book, carried around, for years. This is the same with 1998 that I got this book. And still reading it with all my grid research. What is my point? Marilyn Ferguson. So I had got this book in New York, reading it, carried it around for years. Later, when I returned from New York, I began interning with a gentleman who his wife's mother was Marilyn Ferguson. She lived on the same hill, which I'm not going to say, where I lived for some time in Los Angeles. She's now passed away. But the amazing information that she shared was so ahead of her time. If you look her up, Marilyn Ferguson, there are quotes by her. She is like this profound, like if you're into, and what I mean is like she's this profound, like almost occult author that was so ahead of her time that people did not get it yet, but she was creating the grids. She was creating the pathway, laying the tracks for us then to get with and to align with what's happening now. She's profound. So let's read 176 from the Aquarian Conspiracy. And just in case, there's the book again, okay? Mind, and this is so gritty. This is why I have there's highlights, there's everything. I love her. Mind is invisible circuitry tying us together. So think as if your every thought were to be etched in fire upon the sky for all and everything to see, says the book of Mirdad. For so in truth it is. Psi, PSI, that's all of our extrasensory perceptual activations, are our abilities that are natural to all of us, not just if you're a psychic healer or something, but these are our supernatural powers that we all have access to. Psi is not a parlor game. The phenomena remind us that we have access to a source of transcendent knowing, a domain not limited by time and space. Remember, time and space are constructs that are purely mind, according to the grid mind science teachings. It's all mind. And when we go beyond mind into the heart center, that's when we get to the juicy. I'm going to read this passage, then I'm going to read your comments. From quantity to quality, the missing links. In all of these scientific breakthroughs, we discover qualitative shifts, transformations rather than gradual change. Again, like the Renaissance back in the 13th, 14th, 15th century. There are jumps, missing links. For example, the sudden shifts of brain activity observed in altered states of consciousness, the gap between intention and the gap between intention and physiological change in biofeedback, and between suggestion and analgesia in a placebo effect. The suddenness of intuition, a jump to a solution with no clear logical steps in between. The right brain's gestalts, sudden holes. The jumping genes observed by molecular biologists, mutations, transformations within the genetic code, the sudden appearances of new life forms in the course of evolution, quantum jumps in physics, the transfer of information in psychic phenomena, the shift of a dissipative structure to a higher order. In our lives and in our cultural institutions, we have been poking at qualities with tools designed to detect quantities. By what yardstick do you measure a shadow, a candle flame? What does an intelligence test measure? Where in the medical armamentarium is the will to live? How big is intention? How heavy is grief? And how deep is love? You know, it's interesting. I had a realization several years ago that I was outside smoking one of my cigarettes with the moon, and I got a download because it intuitively felt planets much larger than those that we see or that we're aware of in our solar system. I could see them through my heart and third eye, and they're very close to this planet. If you ever think about those old astral paintings from the 80s, where there's like, you know, there's a view from, I guess it's planet Earth, and there's like a planet that's really big, really close, and there's another one kind of close, a little further in the distance. Have you seen that? I've seen that. And I remember making this note, and I'll have to look for it now because there was a really wonderful download of exactitude of words that put it together, but I'll do my best. The idea is that, you know, if we're only using certain instruments to measure in a certain way, no wonder we can't see third dimensionally, you know, what is there beyond what we've been trained to see, or what is there beyond those instruments that we've, you know, learned to see with, right? We need a new sort of technology. And we are the technology, but also, yes, it translates into the gadgets and the gadgets and the coding and the programs and all that outside of ourselves, which speaks to what Marianne Ferguson was a little bit pointing to in her offering. So let's read these comments. Oh, you're welcome, Royal Corvez. Monipa Artworks. I feel anxious to do something creative, like personal creative projects, and I'm finally making plans to just do them. Yes, I feel a sense of urgency to let my creative juice flow. Exactly. I'm in the exact same way. I feel like if I don't, well, I'm not going to put anything negative on it, but I feel like it's a huge invitation. And what I do know is that I know when I'm not honoring that and not making sacred space to acknowledge and to play with and to create and to just like be present in that inspiration, I'm aware of it. And I'm aware that there's something missing. And like she was saying, the missing link, you know, because when we do sit and we honor that creative pull, that creative draw to just be with really what I feel is God. That's my most favorite thing in the whole world, besides throwing knives, besides dreaming about when I get to motocross. Oh, and here's another, okay, yes, where am I going? There's so much, is that creation period with God. Is that actual alignment when you're in that juiciness and there's no time and you're not thinking about the list where you have to go shopping and you're not thinking about the pain of the past. You're in the moment and you're channeling God. So blessings, Gabriel. Go, bro. Go. Freaking do it. Empro strength. If we are in the matrix is built on rules. Does this make us a slave to those rules since we can't bend those rules? Those variables are constant, manifesting our mental time into physical. Yes. Well, the rules, you know, I mean, I thank you for that. I want to do, like, I almost want to screenshot that now or take a picture of that now, Empro. Because, you know, now when you go live, you don't, they don't keep the comments. So I'm going to take, this is going to look funny, but I'm going to take a picture of this because I feel it's really good. And I'd like to, oh shoot, can I get in focus? Here we go. And I'd like to maybe do a show just on the rules because I really like this, but I'll do my best here to take a picture and to respond. Okay, good. We got it. So thank you for that comment. The rules are learned. We learn the rules from our family, our friends, our societies, our traditions, our cultures, right? Our guardians, etc., from the media and, schools and the police and blah, 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 and all that stuff, the governments. We learn those rules in the third dimension. And as we ascend, right, spiritually, we learn that those are just rules of the third dimension. And now this is interesting. In this whole year, in this whole global, right, shift that's happening, there's been a thing between the people who wear those and people who don't wear those. And my thing is non-judgment. And what it has allowed me to do, what I've noticed is that when there's polarity, and believe me, I've been on those political front lines, walking as an activist and all that stuff many years ago. I've been through in those moccasins, and I've been angry at the man, and I've been pissed at the government, and annoyed at the way animals are treated, and the list goes on, right? There's so much corruption and all this. It's the 3D, it's the illusion, it's the tar body of the matrix. But the point is that what I've learned is that the less I judge, the more I disband making someone wrong and me right, is I'm allowed. It's almost like you get this get out of the matrix free card. If I judge someone or constantly create polarity, then that's creating the constructs of the grid. And I'm creating the rules then, you see. And I'm actually creating rules for myself that are telling me that I can't be free either, because I'm judging them. And if I can't just let them be free, then I'm constraining my own self. And it's a tricky one. I know when we're beginning in spirituality, that stuff is kind of like, wait, what are you saying? But when we meditate on it and sort of sit with it, we're like, okay, shit, I get this. I get this. And so my point is that learning to undo any polarity, and this is a great time in the world to practice this, and not have judgment over our brothers and sisters, not have any mind about it, to know what my truth is, has allowed me to create, and I know there were several shows ago where I talked about this. Heaven on earth exists in the now moment. The fourth dimension it's an interdimensional shift in your heart. It's an interdimensional shift of consciousness. 4D is a shift of consciousness, and it's rooted in the heart center, where there's no judgment, where there's forgiveness, where there's the now moment, etc., where there's the Christ. And as I've moved deeper and deeper from that place of having no mind and no judgment about others, what it's allowed me to move even with greater freedom in this matrix. With greater freedom, where the rules that would be set for the masses rarely apply to me. Somehow the divine order of things, of a harmonic convergence, of a higher order, moves its way into the density of this third dimension through my aura, through my heart torus field that I generate, which creates the correct conditions for that love to be met through these dimensions in the matrix. Because in the matrix, we have the good and the bad. We have the love and the fear, the light and the dark. In fourth dimensional consciousness, there is love and only love. There's no polarity. There's no polarity. So I pray you understand, or that offers you something. But yes, I feel like I'm going to do a whole show on this. So thank you for this offering. So there are rules, but we learn to bend the rules. And again, what I'll go back to is, the parts of us that are stuck on, pointing the finger or judging, or that, all that stuff. And I'm not saying you do that, bro. I'm just saying that, like, us as a collective, we're just trained. We're conditioned to judge and to create separation consciousness. And what this show is all about is that unity consciousness. And so where we drop that, we are given get out of the matrix free cards continually. And things come to you. Opportunities happen for you, right? And there's a divine correlation that begins to happen on the other side of it, where you stop doing and you start being more. But there is an action of doing, because we are in third dimension, we are in a body, yet we're aware that we are so much more of that. And so what happens is the rules are broken for you on your behalf. But yes, there is a middle period of initiation where we learn how to break the rules. And what is that rooted in? That's rooted in us trusting the voice for God, trusting in our hearts, trusting that your truth, as it is aligned in your heart center, is safe for you to embody, is safe for you to share in the world, is safe for you to come out of the closet, whether you're gay, whether you're whatever. I talked about this last week's live. You know, my whole thing is that there's all these different parts of my life that I've done my best to try to keep separate from one another. And now I'm going to be 49 next month, you know, coming up to a half a century of being here in this lifetime. And also, remember, I did a show a year or two ago where I had the realization that this is very well my last incarnation on this planet, to not come back here ever again. And so universal reincarnation, yeah. So all of my skills, my gifts, my hobbies, all of the things that I have put time and attention into, all of the lifetimes I've been here, that memory is with me now, throwing knives, driving race car bikes, doing martial arts, being a Qigong, master, Reiki master, all this stuff, being a singer, being a dancer. I mean, there's like all of these different, the speaker, like all of these different parts of the show that are present now. And it's the thing about this Aquarian Renaissance for you and for me is about moving the blocks between those parts of our minds and parts of ourselves that would keep those aspects of self separate so that they can all come into a divine union. It's ultimate badassery to be and embody every single part of you together at the same time, to keep nothing separate, unless by God you are guided to, but to be your full and complete, whole, authentic self. That is the true gift. And the gifts that you have are those gifts that you've given yourself, that you've chosen before this lifetime, if you believe in that, or gifts from God. And really, we can all do everything. Just some of us have a deeper propensity towards movement in one area than another, or maybe more artistic, and one is more scientific. I mean, there's something about physics too, that I don't get, but I get. Where did that come from? Where does all this metaphysicals, this like absolute, like, this is what I do. Where does that come from? Has it all amassed in this one little life, or has it been, through several lifetimes? So what are all of your parts? Blessings, Al. You hopped over here onto YouTube. Can you touch on aligning with the divine guidance in the Aquarian Renaissance? Yes, I can. First, I want to read through. Let me see. Let me just, blessings. Hey, everyone. Okay, I do create some of that polarity, LOL. Yeah, we do. I do understand. I need to be okay that other truths of others' truths and extend only love. Yeah, it's a work, right? In process, because we have triggers and we have beliefs and judgments and stuff, that can keep us sort of bound in just recreating the same constructs. But I really, really appreciate your comment. And like I said, bro, I think it's like the meat for a whole show. So thank you for that. So let's just, before I get into offering that V to your question, I did have notes. So let's just take a little look back again, right, at some of these notes. So we're saying that in the Renaissance, period of the Renaissance, 13th, 14th, 15th century, after the Middle Ages, right, portable timepieces, watches, clocks were created. That created this, going into outer space, understanding the boundaries or the borders upon this planet were no longer honoring the sun, right, as the focal point of our solar system. Now there's printing presses began. The Gutenberg printing press began. Now, and this was a time where, and please correct me if I'm wrong, because again, my history is not that. I'm not a historian, but I do my best. So please fact check me though. I believe this is right after the fall of Rome. So there was this deep, instigation of, you need to, have a pope or a priest or someone to go to make your connection to God. You cannot do it on your own. You need a middleman, right, to get there. But what happened with the printing press, with Gutenberg's printing press, is that modern printing, I'm reading from my notes, modern printing gave rise to mass communication. Oh, isn't that like Instagram and Facebook and Twitter? New opinions and perspectives were given a right of way by the printed word taking over from oral traditions. So through that printing press, 400 versions of the Bible were created after that printing press. That's a lot of different interpretations, right? And what was happening is this reformation between the Catholic and the Protestant religions. And again, instead of saying you need a pope or a priest to have that connection with God, what was happening in the Renaissance through the printing, through Gutenberg's printing device, was that people started creating what they called fly sheets, which are like our memes. Okay, so I'm getting ahead of myself. So let me go back and read and then we'll add on. So there was more info widely available because people started printing and creating their own forms of media. And also more people started reading. In the Middle Ages, it was only the rich, it was only the well-to-do or, the higher ups that read and that even had access to books or Bibles or anything. Yet in the Renaissance, more people started reading, more people started writing, more people started publishing their views, which meant that more of and that stuff getting passed around, which made created the environment whereby there started a collective conversation, right? Amongst the collective, amongst the people of like debating, like how we do on social media. Be like, well, I don't think so, or you should do this, or I use 10 grams of olive oil, not 5, or, whatever, the information. We started sharing information more widely. More people had direct access to God, as it were, through this 400 versions of the Bible being printed as well and shared. People were for the first time acknowledging themselves as gods too. In the Middle Ages, to be humble was what it was, and to always put the priests and the higher orders as the higher beings, and that you were just a nothing. Yet in the Renaissance came this like awakening of the soul, of the spirit, that was like this badassery that was saying like, you know what? We're here, and we are in the image of God. We are created in the image of God. In fact, if I am created in the image of God, I am God. I am a part of God. And this was a huge breakthrough for the collective consciousness in the Renaissance. So let's think about this before I go on with our current level of consciousness in the collective and what's happening. Because the same thing is happening, according to my studies of just viewing this whole, malarkey here in the Matrix. But that's what's happening. It's like there's a collective. We're all on fire. We're all talking God. God is on our tongues. Christ is in our heart. Truth. And that emblazoned, rebel, like in the Temple of Thieves, where Christ knocks over the tables, where, we're not afraid anymore. More and more of us are less and less fearful of repercussions, of speaking our truth, of standing on our own, of coming forward with our offerings or inventions or whatever it is. Why? Because we're naturally moving into the heart center, into the Christ with this Aquarian age. And where there's greater love, there is less fear. So these fly sheets, people started printing fly sheets, little brochures, right? So not so much books, but little pamphlets and brochures. And these things would get passed around. And this would create amongst the people where there was more or less mute and no conversation, but only just to be a beggar or to be humble. Here comes this awakening, this alignment of like, well, let's share an intelligence, and on a spiritual level, on a religious level, let's speak about things beyond just getting enough bread and water for the next day. Let's talk about your spirit and your soul and what happens after you die, what happens while we're here, what is heaven, what are the stars in the sky, what is space. I mean, this is like this is a renaissance. What is happening now? Renaissance. In so many ways, right? And whatever with all of these SpaceX satellites. I mean, we can judge it and whatever, but there's advances happening technologically. And we know if we're seeing whatever they're showing us now, that there's stuff that's like way ahead and way beyond that we're not seeing now, okay? But these fly sheets, I like to think about these fly sheets as memes, right? So back in the day, what were we doing? We were printing out just how we're creating. A lot of us create our own memes, or we share memes where we're creating our own fly sheets with information. These were pamphlets or verses or drawings or all, right? And let's see. The themes in the Renaissance, which I think this is very interesting, the themes were sensations and miracles. This is what all the fly sheet, this is like if we took a snapshot of like all the memes of the collectively, like right now in this Aquarian age, right now that's happening, just a snapshot. What are the trending hashtags? So the trending hashtags from back in the day, which really just means a hashtag is a grid, is sensations and miracles, mass discrimination. Oh, pardon me. Okay. So the main themes, sensations and miracles, religious institutions, discussions around religious institutions, and politics and military propaganda. Well, that kind of sounds very much like what's happening, right? There's the undercover, the underground, dark grids with all this, the drinking of the blood and the child trafficking and all those, they're grids, they're stories, what's happening. Who knows? Right? But there's information that's being shared on the ready continually that we're passing around, or that's just coming into our consciousness through the collective, through the field of sharing these fly sheets, sharing these memes, but also through the conversations we're having, through the comment boxes, through the DMs, right? Through the hanging out on the street and being like, dude, did you see that? Oh, I got to forward you this meme. What does this mean to you? So social media back in the day, in the Renaissance, we are back, baby, because it is on. And through this lightning speed, because of the internet, our ability to share and interconnect on all of these different levels, all of these conversations, is creating more grids in the matrix for us to have more choices from. Every thought that you have sends forth a lightning, at lightning speed, a thread of information that not only you're connected to, but then is there in the grids for the collective, for anyone who has a similar resonance or that speaks or thinks in that way. That's why when you meditate sincerely, you're given all the secrets of the universe. They're not secrets. They belong to all of us. They are our truths. Right? And so we create the correct conditions for it to be so, Thank you so much for everyone for hopping on. Kati, sister, so much love. Self-Centered Canada, what's up, sister? Ginger, hey, nice to see you. True Blue, yes, all right, so much love. Okay, so social media in the Renaissance, right? Mass discrimination of opinion, grids were growing, more information was accessible to the collective. And because of it, censorship that what had normally been put in place by the church was banished, because there was too many people making fly sheets and passing information, and now starting to have conversations about like, well, do you really need a priest to know God? Can you imagine after like a whole age of people, that was the collective. It's like, you are not getting into heaven, or you are not knowing anything about God. You have to go to the church. You have to have a priest, or you have to blah, 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 blah. But all of a sudden that is removed, and you can have access all on your own to that divinity. That is fucking powerful. And we are in that right now, my friends. Remember what I read from Jean about the Aquarian age, that Christ consciousness awakening. Ready or not, it's here. It's within us, and it is happening in this Aquarian Renaissance of time space. 13. Oh, and here's another thing. Censorship. Ginger Michelle says censorship is such a slippery slope. It really, I know, right? And we're in it now. With so many Pepe Le Pew and oh my gosh, who's old enough to remember Three's Company? I grew up on that with Jack Ritter. I mean, right? I mean, that was just, and Benny Hill. Anyway, okay, a whole different thing. But let me just finish this one last little point with of my notes from what was going down in the Renaissance, and then I will address your offering, Valeria. This is really cool as well. So think about this. In 1300, Venetian glass blowers created for the first time ever the convex mirror. Bright and free of distortion in the Middle Ages. Now, and again, I'm not a scholar. This is what I offer you on the small scale level of research I've done in this so far. In the Middle Ages, people were only able to see their reflection in water. You've heard of scrying, maybe, right? Doing work with the water. Well, but that's how they were like doing their hair, their makeup and their whatever, is to try to get a reflection in some kind of a shiny object or in a bowl of water. And here we go in the Renaissance. In 1300, glass blowers are like, boom, here's a mirror, baby. Check it. They said it just like that. People could see themselves clearly for the first time. People could see themselves clearly for the first time. This was when self-portrait paintings began. There were no self-portrait paintings before the Renaissance. What are self-portraits? Selfies. It's a time of selfies, right? I mean, this is it. I remember when selfies first started, I was like, ugh, gag me with a spoon. This is so disgusting, blah, blah, blah. You know, I judged it. And now I'm all like, click, 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 pick the best one. Okay, delete the rest. This is the age we're in, right? We're acknowledging, according to the Renaissance teachings, though, and thinking about this Aquarian Renaissance, there's an acknowledgement of self. Again, we're not in the Middle Ages. We're not hiding in the dark anymore. We're saying, boom, here I am. I throw knives. I like to ride motorbikes. I like to do nunchucks. I'm going to do some yoga. I'm going to share some metaphysics. I'm going to preach on some, spirituality. It's like all the colors lit up. Remember at the beginning of the show, if you just joined, I welcome you to check it out and start from the beginning with us. All the chakras, all the colors turned on, all the colors lit up, right? And so we're not ashamed anymore. It's becoming just like natural to be like, okay, I got some selfies. Here's a selfie. It's like, it's not a big fucking deal anymore. Just like how they got over being like, it was the artists too. The artists in the Renaissance who opened the way, who were like, here's a self-portrait. And then there was one artist, I can't remember, where he was the first one to actually paint a portrait of his family, right? Where now is like, remember in Sears, I don't know if you're in the States, but like where we would all take the whole family and for like however much you'd get those family pictures done, posed with your arm on the little thing with the fake plant in the background or whatever. I remember those. Anybody remember those? Are we old enough? Some of us are. But that was huge. That had never existed before. And it was the artists, Leonardo da Vinci. I mean, well, he did his own thing, but it was all of these things that happened in the Renaissance that gave rise to this people owning themselves. The sculpture of David was a naked male body that had an aspect of divine feminine that showed his face, that showed his genitals. This was huge in the Renaissance. This is saying like, we're bodies, we're naked, we're here, get with it, people. This was massive. So let's think about what's happening now in our bodies, in this matrix of collective consciousness, in this Aquarian Renaissance. And the point of this whole show is that I intend to encourage you to let all of your colors turn on, to let all of those parts of you that are the Renaissance woman, that are the Renaissance man, come together. Put all those colors of your Rubik's Cube together and let them be lit in the love of your self-acceptance of who you are and what you are bringing and being and embodying in this lifetime. That's the Aquarian age, is when we have all our colors turned on and we're all lit. Can't touch this. Can't touch this. We are in the world and not of it. One at a time, individually and collectively. Fuck yeah. Sears. Remember Sears? Hey, Heart Grid. Okay. Self-Centered Canada. Right? It's essential for anti-trafficking efforts, but it can weaponize maliciously so quickly. Oh, girl, so much. The family glamour shots. Yeah, totally. Exactly. Okay. So let's see. We have a few minutes left. And Valeria said, can you touch on aligning with the divine guidance in the Aquarian Renaissance? Let's do it. One more time. Divine guidance. Divine guidance. Aligning with the divine guidance in the Aquarian Renaissance. So pretty much the majority of the show, we've touched on it. So again, just in case, V, if you just hopped on midway or something, go back to the beginning. And that goes for all of us. But also, let's just see what Spirit says here. We'll take a moment. We'll drop into the heart and into the rose quartz crystalline cave. And please, if anyone else receives divine downloads, put them in the comments. I will read them out. We are one collective sharing this information. So right away, Spirit is saying to disband fear. Fear is the one aspect that is slowing us down, that creates limitation, and that holds hate in place, anger, jealousy, greed, all of those very, very polarized frequencies. And as we absolve and exercise our spiritual will in the way of love, fear diminishes, fear dissolves. We get to shift the tipping point of our every moment, every day walking bodies, our multidimensional being self, in the way of our light body versus the tar body. So we keep that aspect of self. Say there's a pie chart and half of the chart is the dark and half the chart is light. It's like yin and yang in a way. But if you keep feeding the tar body, feeding your hate, your fear, your greed, your anger, and you don't work on healing it or absolving it or alchemating it, raising that move it up from those lower chakras, give it some healing, give it a voice, let it, channel through your art or whatever it is so that it can be alchemated. Then those are going to be those frequencies you continue to walk with and have those experiences dimensionally in the grids. But ultimately what we're doing is we're fine tuning and feeding the light body in all of our practices continually, because it's a moment-to-moment experience, versus feeding the tar body. And in that way, tipping the scales, shifting that divine tipping point in the way of love and light. And that helps us then to navigate as fear may pop up in our subconscious, unconscious, those old beliefs or structures where here we are, we're doing great. And then all of a sudden, and then we're met with like some old issue. We're like, okay, move it into the heart. What would God do? How, one of my favorites, my grandma gave me a keychain. What would Jesus do? WWJD. And I say that as well, but I say, what would your higher self do? Do that. And that's what feeding the light body does, is it helps to create turns the volume up on the voice for God, turns the volume up on your intuition. Okay. Because our intuition, there we go. Thank you, V. Thank you, Valeria. That's what Spirit is saying. Spirit is saying a powerful way to align with one's own inner Aquarian Renaissance qualities is to practice strengthening one's ability to trust their intuition. And now last week's show was all about the mystic gift of intuition, or the mystic gift of trust. Okay, it's 11:58. So I pray that serves, and maybe that's a whole show on its own too, V. I'm so glad we're back on Thursdays. Yes, Self-Centered Canada. I love you, girl. I'm getting, she got some downloads. Stand in the power of your truth like a shield, but make your weapon gentleness. Beautiful. And Ginger Michelle says, rejection is protection. Strategy does not need fear. I love that. Oh, yes. Both of those offerings. So juicy, so powerful. Thank you, ladies. Valeria says, thank you. I'm so grateful. Thank you, everyone, for all of your presence and your love and your light. I'm so happy to be back here with these live streams every Thursday, 11 o'clock, live on YouTube and on Instagram. Unless I have a guest, then it's Instagram only. So my YouTube fam, later I'll come back and put my links. So make sure you follow me on Insta. And I'm going to have my Linktree links to all of my, subscribe to my website. Actually, I redid my website. So in secret to anyone watching here, because I haven't officially launched like the new website yet, but just so you know, if you go to my links at my Linktree on Insta, and I'll put them here on YouTube in a little bit, you can see what's going on, but I'll be posting a little bit later. But I'm so grateful. Mystic Artifacts. I love you, Jean. So blessings, everyone. Heart Grid. So much love. Thank you, everyone. Have a beautiful, blessed day. So make sure you subscribe to YouTube, Instagram. I've got so many juicy things coming up. I'm so grateful for this beautiful community. Thank you so very much. And we'll see you next time. Blessings. Blessings, family.